Welcome back, Nerdiverse, for the launching of our brand new, sparklingly clean segment of Masters of the Nerdiverse. You may know us by our top tens. You may know us by our reviews. You may know us by our random selects. This is a brand new addition to the house of Nerdiverse. We are calling it Why Is. This is a brainchild that has been in the works for a very long time, a brainchild of Wash. This is all Wash. This is say, Mike, why don't we do this? And we just talked and talked and talked and ironed down and drilled down until finally we're here. I'm, of course, Mike G, Master of the Nerdiverse. I'm so excited about this episode. Let me shut up and introduce the brain child himself, the avatar of the green, the man we simply call Wash. What's going on, sir?
Hello, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, morning possibly. We got a hell of a show. Hell of a show. This has been in the works for a minute. This is taking some hours. This has taken some time, a tad bit of due diligence. But I am excited to be here to bring this to the Nerdiverse. We shall see. It may be the first and last episode. We have
Yeah.
no idea.
Yep.
But I am excited to jump into this and journey to through a character which I don't know if it's on the tips of everybody's tongues when you think about superheroes. I'm not sure that it is the first name that comes to mind.
And that's where we start, right? Well, you may ask yourself, what is why is, right? And the kind of the crux in the elevator pitch of this series is there are so many parts of the nerdiverse that we just don't know about, don't really get a lot of love or get all the love, but there's some person out there who doesn't know what something is. Me and Wash talk about these things here and there, but why not have a segment, a evergreen segment, where we really break down why is Swamp Thing a cool character? Why is Swamp Thing unbelievably busted and powerful? Why is Swamp Thing your new favorite thing? This is what this is all about. We just we handpick something out of the nerdiverse, sometimes randomly, sometimes by choice, and we decide that it's time for you to understand why is this character cool. Um, in the early works of this project, we were just going to random select, literally random select, no plug there, a hero. And we were going to random select, we had a couple of heroes that we were going to do. I think it bounced from Dr. Fate to Wonder Woman. And I was just thinking, like, man, nobody gives love to my boy Swamp Thing, dude. Why not? Why is one a character that I could at least be passionate about, and I can show Wash and educate and like help to educate Wash on why is this character cool. So I think we can both approach it from different angles. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that that's a valid point of what you bring up because it was going to be a completely random character, and you came back with Swamp Thing, and I does not know anything about Swamp Thing in
I
going
is
into
don't
this
know.
at all. Like I had no idea. I'm a newbie when it comes to Swamp Thing, and as I got into Swamp Thing, I went, I can see why Mike likes this character. This is just the type of weird offbeat character that Mike likes that is really relevant, but yet no one associates with anything. And it's like, why? Why
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 is
is
it?
that?
Why
Why
is
is
that?
that?
Yes,
Why is
yes,
that?
exactly.
So I think that's what we're going to dive into here today. And yeah, it was a great journey. Good character. It'll be interesting as we move forward how many things, characters, places, people start to creep up into my top tens that I because I just didn't know anything about them. So
That's
yeah.
that's the beauty of it. And the next why is could be something that I have zero understanding of, and Wash could be like, "Hey, Let's do this. And the why is isn't just comic stuff. It could be anything. It could be why is you know, the Chevy Impala, the 2010 Chevy Impala, the best car that ever was written? Why is the Chevy Impala seen in every single movie? It could be anything. Why is
Why is Boys to Men the best R&B duo ever? Trio,
Don't
for
get me
example.
started. Don't get me started. I'll give you my top 5
Yeah.
Boys to Men songs
Yeah,
mhm,
right now. Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Don't get me Boys to Men
yeah.
going on. Not too hard, not too soft. Okay,
Yeah.
but we digress. So, I wanted to share something with you before we get started, to kind of like an inaugural sneak peek, but also to show you how serious I am about this episode. So, I show you a giant swamp thing
Ah,
from
look at
DC Multiverse
this.
that I will be doing a review and unboxing video of in
Look at
commemorate
that.
of this episode. It is a huge ass. Look at the size of this. This is 1/12 scale. This is not a
12th
1/6
scale.
scale. So this is going to
That
be
thing
standing
is
up against.
huge.
It's going to be standing up against characters half his size in the display. The Swamp
Y-
Thing. This was a hard buddy to find, bro.
You need to move into a new room to put that thing in.
I
Like
need a
that thing
hanger, dog.
is huge.
I'm gonna need a
Does he
hanger.
have what's the color? What's the inline color? I cannot tell what the inline is. It yellow
Yeah,
or
he
is it
is.
orange?
It's hard to get it on camera. He,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
All right, I gotcha.
He's like a brownish auburn, he's like a brownish kind of what highlights of like burnt yellow and orange. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Blood red eyes,
gnarly.
classic Swamp Thing, dude. So hype. And it's just a testament to how much I love this character. I absolutely and like we'll go into it, but he is absolutely one of my favorite things in the world. That's just a very quiet Mike thing. I don't get to talk about him often.
Would you say Swamp Thing in normal size is standing at that 7 foot range? Because I was trying
Whew.
to think, is he Martian Manhunter like just normal size, 7 foot, or is he coming in a little shorter than that?
And it varies between media. In the
Mm,
movies, he's about 6'10", like he's about
okay,
7 foot tall, maybe Hulk size. In the comics, he's kind of like standard, maybe nine
standard.
or like 9, 8 feet tall. He's a big guy.
Okay,
But in the video games, he's really tall. In the cartoon, he's really tall. So he's usually like a hulking creature. It's kind of like where he stands at. Like like you said, maybe between like 7, like just to combine everything, maybe between 7 and 8 tall.
7 and 8 feet, just walking up on a fool like, yo, what up?
Yeah, before he gets active and has to get smaller or has to get bigger or whatever Swamp Thing can do. And we'll go into that. Um, any final initial thoughts before we really get into this? Why is
No, man, let's do it. Why
Swamp
is
Thing?
Swamp Thing awesome?
You make my heart sing. All right, before we get started, please like our content if you really enjoy this information that we're going to bestow upon you. Please subscribe to the channel so that you're made aware when new content like this goes live. And comment: do you love Swamp Thing? Have you been waiting for new Swamp Thing information, new Swamp Thing love? Because this is going to be a love letter to Swamp Thing. So buckle up, get your green drink, and lock in because we're going to talk some Swamp Thing. You ready to rock and roll?
Yes, sir.
So, starting off, we're talking about the origin, right? What is Swamp Thing for those who really don't know? And poignantly put, Swamp Thing is a tragic blend of science gone wrong and supernatural rebirth. Wash, I know you just took some time diving into the classic Alan Moore run. You took time diving into the New 52 run. Of those differing approaches to this origin, how do you feel Swamp Thing is different between your standard superhero fare?
I think, and as we had to, or as I had to start thinking about how I wanted to answer some of these questions and to get into some of this, it's like, why is Swamp Thing origin awesome? And
Yes.
pardon me. And I'm actually going to give it to the Alan Moore run of to I think it's the better representation of how Swamp Thing um, it makes more sense in how he comes to us versus the new 52. That says the new 52 run, it ties in some good markers in regards to his more conscious side of it all. So it's an interesting little blend hopping from Alan Moore to the new 52. I'm not going to say that it's not without its shock, folks. And maybe you could give us some years on the just so that the folks know the Alan run is what year?
Oh, that's like
Alan
19
Moore run.
the Alan Moore run is like 1983, 84. I could be
Early,
wrong on the exact it's early 80s.
early,
It's early
early 80s, right?
yeah.
And so the new 52 run with Scott Snyder
Scott Snyder was more along the lines of like the 2000s, like
and also
the
my boy
2000s to
Charles
2010s.
Soule. Shout out, writes a lot of
Shout out.
Star Wars books. I was like,
Yes,
ah, there
Charles.
he is.
He wrote the
I
Vader book. He wrote the Vader
Yeah,
run.
he did. I was like, he wrote Vader anyway in there. I did think that tragic accidental tale of of being being in a in your own part of your own creation of an experiment and that turning you into the new thing is a much better tale for Swamp Thing. I also think it's awesome because as I think about it in DC, we have some of these characters like the Joker, right? But we don't necessarily have a lot of accidental. You find that more in the Marvel
Exactly.
side of things. Uh, yeah.
Exactly. And that was you took the words right out of my mouth. He is more akin to a Marvel character than he is a DC character. And I think that's because of who created this guy, Lynn Weiss, the goat Bernie Wrightson, one of the best artists of all time. And Swamp Thing is the accident. He is the science gone wrong. But in the Alan Moore run, truthfully, the anatomy lesson, it becomes more of a philosophical, almost kind of like a ship of Theseus approach to this character. Like how much of it is Alec Holland and how much of it is a plant. You know what I mean? It almost reminds me of the Jeff Goldblum The Fly, where it's like I was a
Ooh.
I was a man I was a man I was a fly who dreamed he was a man, but now that I'm waking up from that dream and I've been this fly the whole time. You know what I mean? Very tragic, but very poignant and beautiful.
That is absolutely a something that I had not considered as far as a correlation goes in his tale as relating to other figures within the Nerdiverse. And that is a great one, Jeff Goldblum's character, even though Jeff is a tad bit more gung ho about it than Alec is. I think that the way Alec manages to keep the essence of his humanity but yet folding within the green and everything that comes with it. So he's like walking along and he's fully like immersed in the green, but there's almost a shadow of Alec that he can't get rid of, which I'll get into further reasons as to why I think this whole thing happens in Link. But I think that there's something very special about that origin story that keeps us even now after hours and hours of research, that opening really keeps you he's by himself, he's alone. Like imagine if you wake up tomorrow, you you are no longer human. Like you're
Yeah,
something else, right? You
something
are
else.
fly now, right? And
Yeah.
it's like but there's Mike humanity still there and you know, it's an interesting duality that they do in this that we again not seeing a lot at least that I know of in DC characters. You have like
No.
Batman. I
He,
wear a cow, you know?
yeah. I Alec can't take this costume off. There is no secret identity. He is Swamp Thing, but he also is Alec Holland, a scientist who was trying to save the world. But much like another one of my favorite characters, Darkman, he was sabotaged. It became the result of his own experiment. Maybe not exactly what he was envisioned, but it was through his own research he became this embodiment of sentient plant life. You know what I mean? And you kind of get to see him in his isolation come to terms with his role now. And like you said, like it's such a big upbringing to be an avatar of the green, like to be the sentient embodiment of a concept. You know what I mean? Like almost makes me think of Morpheus, you know, from Sandman. Like I am dream. Like how do you have any kind
Yes.
of humanity when you're so removed from it? And it's not one thing to say I'm Batman, but it's another thing to say I am bats. I am the concept of bat. It's like a whole other way to think about it, but still
Yes.
maintain humanity. And that's the
Yes.
line that Alec walks in every iteration of him, especially in the Alan Moore run, where, like you say, he almost looms over the shadow of this new creature. It's almost like it's not Alec Holland, it's Swamp Thing. But the shadow of Alan is constantly reminding Swamp Thing of his humanity, reminding him he loves who he loves and why does he do what he does for his motivations. It's very, very beautiful,
And
right?
it's not necessarily wanted. And yeah, it's a very poetic in how that the Alan Moore run opens it up in those first few issues. It's a very poetic type of visual to the eyes because he's a very singular person going through this experience that you're like, as you're trying to wrap your mind around, yeah, I am bats now. What? What
Yeah.
do you mean I am
What you
bats
mean?
now? What does that
That's you.
mean?
And you're responsible for all bats.
Yes.
What? But and it's kind of like, and much like Doctor, and I hate doing these because I want for this why is I want there
Yeah.
to be characters for people to to kind of, oh, he's like that, right? Like why is he cool? Because he reminds me of like Doctor Manhattan in that beautiful scene in Watchmen where Doctor Manhattan has to slowly bring himself back together. You know what I mean? He has to slowly regrow his circulatory system, slowly regrow his bone structure, and much like Swamp Thing, he kind of Alec Holland, in all intents and purposes, if we're going to go with the Alan Moore run, was dissolved into the swamp, bones and all, and you know, up came something else. You know what I mean? Like a brand new thing that then had to, with the memories and the consciousness of this human. But now you're in a very inhuman situation. You know what I mean?
Well,
How do you deal with that?
and we're probably going to jump around a bit here
Yeah,
because things are intermingled. But it's all the swamp ate Alec, right?
yeah,
Alec,
pretty
like
much.
the swamp ate Alec, and they didn't know Alec was going to stick around. Like
Yeah.
they were like, "Nah, we got him." And wait, why
No,
is
we got our
why
swamp
is
thing. We have our new avatar. That's cool. You got to drop that Allen part, the Alec part. I can't. Well,
and he doesn't even know what it is. He's like, how do you want me to drop whatever this is that's following me? I barely recognize it. I recognize the green. You tell me why this is following me. So it provides a lot of friction right from the get go about this character, what this character wants, and in my eyes, over the course of let's say 60 comics, like ultimately, even as we end the new 52, it's like, you know, the mantle of the swamp thing isn't worn necessarily willingly.
no, it's a big responsibility. And in DC Comics, there are multiple avatars for the different kind of like elemental states. Um, One of my favorite avatars is the avatar of the Red, who was Animal Man, who was animals. I am animal, right? And he has a hard ass time dealing with that. You know what I mean? And it's not fun. It's not something you seek. Like I want to be a Kryptonian. I want to be Superman and I can fly around and do whatever I want. No, there's a heavy cost to this responsibility. And like you mentioned, like it's almost like his humanity's getting in the way of what he needs to do, but it also is grounding him to what's important. It's super cool how he's like, "Yeah, I know the green. Why do I have these memories? Why is this happening to me?" And they're like, that's something you're gonna have to figure out." You know what I'm saying? Eh,
You're on our
you-
side though, so don't let it interfere with anything.
yeah, we
And
still got. We
that's
need you to do these
rough.
things. We don't care what your home life is about, but when you're at work, we need you to be working. Type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. Any final thoughts about the origins of Swamp Thing and why is it such an interesting take on, do we even call him a superhero? I don't know.
um, in a lot of freaking Thanos kept, it's funny you say Marvel, right? Because Thanos's words of "I am inevitable" kept going through
I
my
lost you.
head.
Mm, I lost you there. Could you repeat that last thought, Washi?
Test, test.
Got you.
I
I
am
got you.
inevitable. All right.
You are
Uh,
inevitable.
yes, like so Thanos's line of "I am inevitable" kept going through my head
Mm,
because this is what the Swamp Thing is. There always has to be Swamp Thing. There
hmm.
always will be a Swamp Thing, and the Swamp Thing is always for the green. So I I actually and we have our lineup. I'm actually surprised that there just is not more friction with this character and just the entire rest of the DC
You
universe
know,
because he's responsible for so freaking much that
yeah.
it's like, yeah, you guys, I don't care. You don't get it. And him and Superman get into their thing a bit, but we don't really flesh that out in these two illustrations that we went through, at least that I saw.
A couple of fun facts. In regards to how he kind of meshes with everything else and how important he is, but also how downplayed he is, right? Poison Ivy of Batman fame was once an avatar of the Green.
I was wondering.
She got a big power boost in the new 52. Swamp Thing took a weird sabbatical, don't comics, right? And she became the avatar and quickly gave it up. I'm good. Super good, super good, super good, super good. Can I just be Poison Ivy, please? No. I like this is nice, but no. I don't want any of this. Back to Alec Holland. Um and also, which I thought was hilarious. Like she
That
just gave
is
up no smoke.
hilarious. She's
But
like, nah.
she didn't want none
I
of
thought
it.
I wanted this job. I don't.
I thought I was about it until I had to be about it. You know what I'm saying? Hell to the not hell.
That's
Oh my
funny.
god. Um and he also dang, I lost my train of thought there. He also is very a much like Doctor Strange in the Marvel
Mhm.
universe. It's like you guys don't realize that I'm protecting you from all magical threats that you just don't see. You don't know what I'm doing in the background of your world so that it runs. You know what I mean? Like he's very much not a team player. Like before Doctor Strange was a MCU character, he was not a team player. He was not an Avenger. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was doing his magical thing way over there so that the Avengers can like sip coffee and fight Ultron and stuff. And he would only show up when they needed magical help. You know, like Ghost Rider is so powerful, but he doesn't really play well with others because he's doing his supernatural hell and Mephisto and all that crazy stuff that doesn't really pertain to Spider-Man for the most part. Outside of Brand New Day. And but these are characters that sometimes play with others, almost like even Aquaman used to be like that back in the day. Where it's like, you don't
Mhm.
understand, I have to guard all of water. You know how
Yes.
important my job is? You guys just don't care. I don't choose to care, you know? And it's funny, he just
I-
doesn't
I-
get the love.
It's funny when you bring up Aquaman and you think about all the love that Aquaman gets, and it's like he's guarding the water. No one cares about Earth Day, though. You know what I mean? Everybody's like Earth Day, whatever.
Swamp Thing
and
sees
he
somebody throw something on the ground, his fist just he just gets tight.
Honest to God, I hadn't did it yet, and I think I know who would win, but I've just been waiting till after we got done to ask GPT who wins Captain Planet versus Swamp Thing. Because I just want to know. I
Who
just
wins?
want to
I
know.
don't know.
These are two people having coffee. You know what I mean? They are in
Yeah,
the same spot. Like,
yeah.
yeah, all
They go
these
to the
people
same
are screwed
meetings.
up, man.
Yeah,
Like, they don't
then
get it. The entire world is going to go away, and then no one's here.
no one's here. Yeah,
Yeah.
they subscribe to the same podcast. You know what I'm saying? I love planets gonna take pollution down to zero, or it's your ass, dude.
The entire time I was reading it, I was like, I gotta know who wins this because Captain Planet, I think, also
No,
can
Captain Planet
grow
is
and
turbo busted,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, turbo busted, yeah,
Yeah. So
turbo
no, don't get
busted,
it
yeah.
twisted.
All
He's
right,
cute
yeah.
until he's not. We're gonna move on, but I've always wanted to write a Captain Planet book where he just stops giving a shit and like it gets serious. It like Captain Planet is a big problem, and he no longer listens to the kids, and he's just like, "You guys are gonna get it together, or I'm going to kill everyone, and we're just gonna
You,
restart." I think that's
I
such an
am here
interesting
for
idea.
that. I'm here for that. That's
I
funny.
want it. I want it so bad. Captain Planet just says, I'm done playing with y'all.
It's over.
Let me show you what I really can do." And next thing you know, Earth implodes.
What's the thing that they're doing in comics now? Ultimate Batman? Is it the
Yeah.
absolute Batman that
Absolute
they're doing?
absolute Captain
Absolute,
Planet.
absolute Captain Planet, bro.
It's just it's just ego. The Earth turns and it's his face, dog. And he's just like, it's over, dog. You guys done you done littered your last Pepsi, dude. Uh, we've been kind of talking about it a bit, and I want to talk about in more themes. Why is the theme of Swamp Thing so cool, so important, so different? And Swamp Thing is that haunting exploration of identity. We've talked about it during his origins, environmental consciousness. Captain Planet will kill you if he finds you, what I'm saying, littering on his earth, and just the thin line between humanity and nature. He's a monster, but he's not. But is he the monster or are we the monster? What are your thoughts just overall on the themes of Swamp Thing and how alien they are almost to comics in general? Like I said, he doesn't play well with others. Even his themes are not very comic book like.
The themes of Swamp Thing are fairly dark in my estimation because as we started getting into things like the rot, which for
Yeah.
me, I th- we, I had never given any consideration to the rot, right? And
Mhm.
and the decay of everything, but when you start thinking about that and what Swamp Thing literally has to deal with and what he's dealing with and what the swamp and the earth and the green are telling him because they're dealing with this decay and rot all the time
Constantly. Yeah.
constantly so he he's an unwilling he doesn't want the mantle but yet there's a lot of pain and trauma in my estimation that comes
Yeah.
with all of this and we see that when we see the parliament of the trees like dying it's like yo bro you let us die
You messed up. You messed up.
your
Yeah.
choices let us go and it's like what do you mean like can't you do something else it's like no like now everybody's just dead and
Yeah.
that's fairly dark like superman comes in saves the day it's like no you messed up.
Yeah. You just cost the earth the earth. You know what I mean? How do I fix this? That's the comic, right?
And it happens a couple of times, right? Because of the nature of decay and the nature of rot. We can't stop death. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
thus, it allows death to have a healthy grip in our existence because we can't do anything about it. Swamp Thing and the rot are the same.
Yes. You bring up a very valid point. Like the theme of Swamp Thing is yin and yang. It's birth.
Balance. Yeah,
It's balance.
balance.
Because there can't. And what's crazy is that we don't think about it this way, but every side of that coin is constantly fighting to be more. There isn't a delicate, beautiful balance. No, it's that if any of those get the upper hand, it throws off everything. And the rot wants to win. The white wants to win. The the, you know the representation of like spores in like mold, and that's a whole another side of things. And of course, the green. So Swamp Thing's job is to keep that balance so that we can live on Earth. And it's one of those things where it's like people don't realize how delicate life is. Like at any second, a brand new virus can just show up and wipe us out. At any second, an asteroid can get into our get on a line to Earth, and that's about that. At any second, anything could happen. And Swamp Thing's entire theme is like, I have to, not, not a team, not the Swamp Avengers. No, I am responsible for keeping these other universal constants in check so that we can live on this planet in harmony. And it's like, that's such an insane responsibility that is on his shoulders. And if it wasn't for the Alec Holland part, he probably have it locked down because he's like, his humanity is what puts the weight of that melancholy on his shoulders. You know what I mean? If he was just a clean avatar of the green, no humanity, I'm just going to do my thing, I'm a cog in the machine, it probably wouldn't be that bad. But the Alec Holland part, talking to him and being influencing him, makes him make these human decisions in a very, like I said, in a very inhuman situation. What do you think about
And
that?
we even see that when something good's happening, because in all in all fairness, like the cedar is going around wood rule is going around seeding things,
Yeah.
growing things, but it's still too much, it's in excess,
The
and
fluorescent
thus
man. You brought up the fluorescent man. Yeah.
the fluorescent man. And so in excess, and he's like, we can't have we
That.
can't have water in the desert, bro. That's not how any of this can work.
Hmm.
So, you know, he has to pay attention to the good and the bad. And there's a line in here when he's like, I don't care about the red, I don't care about the rot, I only care about the green, or however it's phrased. And it's like, yes, I get it. And you're very chaotic neutral in your
Hmm.
just disregard
Approach.
for in your approach, right? And he could be a lot more ruthless, right, if he
Hmm.
wanted to. But
Yeah.
I think that the themes of decay, melancholy, weight, st- stakes, if we want to throw that in there,
Stakes.
I I,
Yeah.
I think that kind of keeps him fighting the good fight, worth it
And
or not.
and I also want to bring into the theme of just the industrial world versus the natural world, where you have Arcane, who is trying his damnness to just make the most unnatural things on earth. You know what I mean? He's the worst. He's like a grody Doctor Doom. He's like, I'm a sorcerer scientist who just wants to throw shit together and let's just see what's gonna happen, right? And Swamp Thing has to fight pollution. He has to fight, just the folly of man, much like Aquaman. It's like, you guys keep messing up my oceans. I'm playing nice with you until I can't play nice with you anymore because you're jeopardizing my world. Like you said, Swamp Thing is very, in some of his writing, he's very tunnel vision about what's important to him. It's the green, the green, the green of it. And a lot of times he won't interfere with mortal issues because it has nothing to do with the green. Hey, Swamp Thing, you can solve this problem in Metropolis with Doomsday right now. Does it affect the green? No, I mean it could. All right, we out, we out, we out. He turns into dandelion spores and disappears. You know what I'm saying? So if it's not in his neck of the woods, he just simply doesn't care. You know what I mean? And you kind of understand why, because his neck of the woods is so damn important. It kind of requires his full attention. Am I off on that idea? You know?
No, when we talk about like Arcane and what like that's a problem, bro. And even the little kid, William, like
Yeah.
that's a problem. And then when we get in the Avatar world, like it, I had to like break my brain a bit trying to get in here, because it's like, are we on Earth? Where are we?
Yeah.
And
Where is this?
essentially, like, it's happening on Earth but in the metaphysical realm. And so, Swamp Thing's dealing with Earth and the metaphysical part of it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the blood cells in your body decide to revolt and like infect something, Swamp Thing's getting a call.
Yeah.
Damn it. What?
Who?
Nah, you and
Fine. And
so
he goes solves the problem.
it leads to just a weird world. You know what I mean? Where just everything is possible and all these weird characters and events are possible. And so people like Arcane who are able to just create minions, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word,
Just pop it. Yeah.
that's a problem, man. That's a problem. And they're what was I calling them? Abominations? Isn't that what they were in Left
Abominations.
4 Dead?
Yeah. They're pretty
With
much
the
like,
bubble things? Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty much Last of Us freaking infected. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That he just like he loves doing. He loves it. He's like Sauron. I just want to make dinosaur men, you know. I just want to do this. But you mentioned a good point in regards to themes. There's another half of the theme that you touched on that we should talk about a little bit more before we move on. It's the psychedelic side of things. And I think a lot of that kind of weighs into the Alan Moore because Alan Moore loves his psychedelics. He loves this kind of heady kind of unreal kind of universe that he has to dive into outside of the standard human fare, which is very Doctor Strange, right? Like Doctor Strange works on multiple dimensions, the multiverse, where almost like Swamp Thing is not just planetary. He lives within the cell of a molecule. He reverts back to the essence of the green,
Yes.
and deals with the entire microcosm within that all by itself. You know,
Yes.
DC does that a lot, where it's like Flash has to go into the Speed Force, which is his own different universe. You know what I mean?
It,
They do that a lot.
and I just had to look like he goes to Rot World. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's his own
Superman ain't
thing.
hanging out in Rot World. He's never been in Rot World. Wonder
No,
Woman ain't lassoing anything in Rot World. Rot World's running gang shot over him because it's like it is inevitable. It's hard
yeah,
to stop. And so it also leads to why the stories can just kind of keep continuing, in my opinion. And why don't we have more? Because there's so much. I think that there's so much left on the table with Swamp Thing,
yeah.
just as far as the negative aspects of it all with what we're talking about. Like, we don't get into chemistry that much. Like we start
No,
talking about chemistry that's going on. And this is a scientist, a doctor by nature. So
I mean, you can simplify this character. You can, and they've done it before. We'll talk about it in media. They try to make him more digestible to an audience, but it's difficult just by his own nature. That it's like, okay, how do we make this a good old fighting superhero that wins at the end? Like, nah, it's not that simple. Swamp Thing is playing chess in a world of checkers. He's playing 4D chess based upon the things that he has to deal with. And I think the themes of this character, you can focus on any theme and make an excellent movie. You can focus on any theme and make an excellent cartoon or book or comic book,
yeah.
movie, a video game. It's because he's so much like his style. He's so flexible. He could be anything. He could do anything.
And that's one of the reasons I think I like the Alan Moore run a tad bit more than the New 52 because it's it's much more concise in what it's talking about and where the world is lying in. Whereas the New 52, once you leave and we haven't mentioned her yet, but I'm sure she's coming up. But once you leave that Abigail arc, things
Yeah.
do start to get a little bit weird over in Swamp World, and people are like, let's play with some weird things and see what happens. And sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not, but all the same, they're experimenting with what they can do. And, you can push the bounds, but you also don't need uh freaking who's the new X-Men with the shield over their face? You know who I'm talking about. New X-Men with the shield over the face from like 10 years ago now.
New
Ah!
X-Men from 10 years ago with a shield on their face.
I
Uh
can't remember.
Oh, like Phantom X, bro.
No,
Like,
when they rebooted the new X-Men and everybody was losing their mind, and all I remember is the cover with Xavier. He had like the mask, the silver mask over his
oh, you
face.
mean like oh, you're
Uh,
talking
uh,
about House of X. You're talking about the House of
House
X
of
guy.
X, yes.
He had the
So
giant bubble on his head with the X on it. Yeah.
so once we start getting into the later issues of this, it's like, it, did House of X come out first, or did this come out first, or where are we doing? Because you guys look a little bit the same, and thus the worlds are blending a bit. But metallic world, machine
Before
world.
we
Pardon me.
before we move on, remind me, is it Scott Snyder that wrote the New 52 stuff?
Scott Snyder, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes to get a little heady, and sometimes he can bite off more than he can chew. Excellent writer. But then again, it's not fair because you're putting up against one of the best written graphic novels of all time in Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. It's just geez Louise. That alone
A-
can make you a fan reading
And
that.
we talked about the writing, hashtag check out Friday night MOTN live. We were talking about how wordy Scott can be as compared to Alan Moore, where it's much more a visual
Visual
experience.
feast. The
Yeah.
relationship. Hey, all creators out there, have a relationship with your artist, please. Like trust your artist. Let them tell the story that you let them tell the story. You don't have to tell the story, you can show the story from time to time. Whew, the power, right? Let's talk about and for there's two different kinds of superhero fans, right? The power. There's the guy who says, I love Superman. He has such interesting stories. I love you know, the Doomsday story. He's so brave. I love There Goes the Man of Tomorrow. Well written. And then there's the superhero fan who says, I like Superman because he's the biggest and the strongest and can't be defeated, and he can fly through worlds and he's the coolest guy ever, right? Swamp Thing provides both. So if you love Swamp Thing for the deep writing, for the philosophical, psychedelic approach, you're gonna love Swamp Thing. But if you just want a character who's powerful and is not going to lose unless he decides to, it's Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is effectively a god, pretty much, of the botanical world, of any botanical world. We mentioned it before that he is the avatar of the green. Well, what does that mean? He is a physical manifestation of the concept of green, of life, of plant life, of chlorophyll, of chlorokinesis. The closest equivalent I can give you is that in Marvel Comics, Doctor Strange is the sorcerer supreme. What does that mean? That means he is the most capable sorcerer in the entire universe. He's the guy, right? The sorcerer supreme. None higher than him. Swamp Thing is like being an avatar of the green is kind of the effect of that. Whereas, like, you are the sole representative, the most powerful creature who can do anything. Not knowing much about Swamp Thing, Wash, seeing his feats between the Alan Moore run, seeing his feats between the New 52, where do you stack him up against the Justice? Who in the Justice League can fight Swamp Thing straight up and win? Who do you think?
Straight up and win, dude. We were just having this thing about Captain Planet, so I don't know. Um, uh,
I can't think
Wolverine
of
will
one.
not beat Swamp Thing. Here, that's
Sorry,
what I'll
no.
tell you. There you go. I
Sorry,
will
no.
say that Wolverine will not beat Swamp Thing. Venom versus Swamp Thing might be interesting. Um,
Can the symbiote take over the green? I don't
and,
know.
and this is kind of what I was thinking about as I was going through different types of weird, not necessarily elemental enemies, but villains that are not made up necessarily of humanity.
Yeah,
And so for me, like his his power grows, but I wanna say that he's not necessarily the most impressive superhero, right? He
yeah.
is not the smartest superhero in the world. He is not the fastest. In fact, he almost dies multiple times. But luckily for him, he's
He can't.
kind of mostly, just needs a little bit of green and he'll be
He'll be
fine in
fine.
time.
Yeah,
Granted that they do have a cycle, right? I don't know how
yeah.
long that cycle is, but it does seem like when they're injured, they may have to go away for a minute to heal. It's not necessarily instantaneous. Like, I'm not sure how long Jonah was asleep for before the ending of New 52 when they wake him up and everybody's going to do all that stuff. But what I'll say about his powers is he is the most patient superhero I think we have.
Yeah, he'll
He
wait you out. He'll
he's
wait you
like,
out.
here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let you do your thing. If that involves beating me up, punching me in the face 50 million
Have
times,
fun.
cool.
Have fun.
Do what you need to do. But at some point, I'm gonna do the Hulk Hogan thing. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna shake my finger. And like then it's over. And then I'm just gonna turn my hand into whatever I want it to be. Green Lantern ring. Also, I was like, how does he like if the Green Lantern ring was a thing? How would he do against it? I don't know.
Uh,
Very similar.
Here's the thing. Like you mentioned a very good point of avatars of certain elementals, right? And how does he stack up? You have Storm, who is an Omega level mutant who can control the planet of Storm.
He'd
You
wreck Storm.
know, hmm?
I think he'd wreck Storm. I
He wrecks
think.
Storm because the
I think.
difference is that Storm is still a flesh and blood human that can be cut and damaged and like overall just die of whatever cause if you were able to get a hit in. S- All Swamp Thing needs is a molecule of green. That could be within it. That could be within the human body. That could be within your body. That could be within his enemy's body. That could be from the sands of the Sahara to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. You can destroy his physical form as it stands before you. But like you said, he could just sprout a new one. His consciousness does not live in this vessel. It lives in all things. He's almost omnipresent in a weird way. Um, there was a
Which
feat
makes him
where,
busted. Which
which
makes
makes
him
him,
relatively busted.
like you said, he's not the strongest, right? He's not the fastest. He can't shoot. He can't shoot laser beams. I think he
Mm-mm,
can.
no.
He can kind of do weird. He can literally do whatever he wants, dog. If he wants to shoot like a photosynthesis beam at you and
Yeah.
jack you up, sure. He can be as big as a mountain or live within the cell of a nucleus and jack you up that way. He can fly. He can, like you said, turn his hand into kind of whatever he wants. If he controls anything that was ever connected to the green. If he just wants to become a living house, he can just become a living house. That's what he wants to do that day. And on top of him being able to traverse different planes of existence, you know what I mean? There is a when the New 52 ended and it all blew up. One of the only things that survived into the next universe untouched was Swamp Thing. He transferred his consciousness from our universe to the new thing that happened, and Alec Holland survived the end of the entire universe.
That's interesting. That's so,
He,
because especially considering how much Alec doesn't want this job.
no, he's very persistent. Alec doesn't want any. Don't get it twisted. He's not smart, right? He's a scientist, but he's dumb, right? Because it's
Yeah,
not Alec, it's Swamp Thing, right? So
yeah.
so that kind of like teeters away from his intelligence. He's not suave. He's not going to woo you. He is simply does his job, and he really doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it, so he does it. You know what I mean? He's almost like, and we'll talk about this character, John Constantine, who's a very reluctant hero. You know what I mean? And lucky for him, he is granted some of the most bizarre, insane powers because you think about it, like he does reality warping. He can warp reality in a weird way, based upon the tangibility of green, of
Oh,
everything
yeah,
comes from the earth. It all comes, we all come from the earth.
yeah.
Thus, we all come from the green. If we're living, he can control it.
But that being said, and one of the reasons Swamp Thing is awesome is because there's balance, and thus the
Yes.
rot is
Powerful. Yeah.
just as strong, and just
Yes.
as much of a problem, which requires his full attention. Which is why I'm going to say that you go Alan Moore to halfway through that New 52 run, and you're talking that like, all right, what are you doing, James Gunn? All right, bro, like,
We're
yeah,
gonna
that's
talk
a
about that.
story. Let's
We're
do
gonna
it. All
talk about
right,
that.
there we go. Let's go. There you go.
Yes. Uh, he is, like you said, because he's one of the universal constants. He fights other universal constants. It solves the Superman problem, right? Well, why don't Superman just come and save the day, right? Why do we need a Justice League if Superman is so strong? And it's like, well, Superman has things to do, but most part, Superman has nothing to do. He's never fighting characters who are quite on his level all the time. Mind you, there's the Doomsdays and there's the Brainiacs that actually give Superman a hard time. But for the most part, Superman is having fun with his bros and drinking beers with the Justice League, and we'll figure it out. Swamp Thing is constantly contending with beings that are, if stronger, if not as strong as him, are stronger and have less restraint. The Rod has zero restraint. You know what I mean?
Zero.
There is no consciousness to that. It's only like a force of nature that he has to combat. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I say the Alec Holland part makes him so interesting because it adds a humanity to that approach.
And we see on two different levels of Swamp Thing A going nuts, Superman coming down thinking he's gonna run gunshot over him, being like, "Yeah, this isn't going how I thought it was gonna go." And then number two, Superman literally going, "Yeah, bro, can you do something about this? What is happening? Stop it!" And that's the most Superman can do is ask nicely.
Yes.
like,
Don't get it
and,
twisted. He's
and
so
he's like,
busted, bro.
uh, yeah, that, I didn't
That makes
know.
sense.
Sorry, I
Sorry.
that part of my brain wasn't working. You
Sorry.
know what I mean?
You right.
Sorry.
You right. I'll clean it up. You right. You
Yeah.
know.
So
S-
uh,
s-
I think that Superman's role in this comic was very fitting as providing
Yes.
scale for the
Scale.
Swamp Thing, because you're literally going, he's asking Swamp Thing for something.
That
Since
tells
when
you a
does
lot.
Superman ask for
Ask for
anything?
anything.
Like, yeah, no,
Mhm. Mhm.
no.
It's one of my favorite moments in comics, scale, right? Um, where it's not even a moment in comics, a moment in cartoons where Galactus shows up to destroy the Earth, right? And the Fantastic Four are fighting them, the Avengers are fighting them, they're all having a hard time. But for some reason, he, Ghost Rider decides to intervene, right? And because Ghost Rider is so inept in his world, you don't really have a scale to how powerful Ghost Rider is until he rolls up on Galactus, gives him the penance stare, and takes him out in one moment. People, what the hell was that? That's Ghost Rider. He's on another level. Please ask him for forgiveness. Ghost Rider says, "You are guilty of the death of billions." Hits him with the penance stare. Galactus down. Galactus down. Where have you been? Dealing with my bullshit over here. All right, I'm gonna go back to it. You have fun, Superman. I'm sorry this kind of got out of hand. Thank you for being nice. Because if you wanted to be nasty, I could be nasty. Like
Yeah,
Swamp Thing can just fight Wonder Woman straight up
yeah.
and subdue her. Captain Atom, Superman, like he's fought heavy hitters and like really had no problem. Like he just was Swamp Thing in it up. And people are like, why is this guy so powerful? Because he's busy.
And
You know
that's
what I mean?
when you say that he transfers his consciousness at the end of all things, it's like, damn, he literally just outlived everybody. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
He's one
That's
of the
why is Swamp Thing awesome? That's a reason. Batman don't do that.
Batman can't do that shit. He's one of the few characters in comics canonically who remembers the previous universe.
And that is awesome. Awesome.
Why is Swamp Thing cool?
Yes.
That's why Swamp Thing is
That
cool.
that is awesome. Yes, because you don't get a lot of that, and with
No.
comics, you need it. They reading it very much got me thinking about the Watcher and him. They play a very similar role in
Yeah.
things, even
That's a
though
good
S-
tie.
Swamp Thing is much more interactive than the Watcher is. But there are not a lot of characters who remember from world to world what is happening in this universe. And with the nature of comics, we need that through line that's like
Yes.
someone knows what the hell's going
Someone's
on.
gotta know what's happening,
Someone,
what's
right?
happened, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And that's a very good analogy. Swamp Thing, the Watcher, and Swamp Thing sees all through the green. So he's kind of, like I said, he's kind of omnipotent. He sees all, but he
yeah,
chooses when to interfere with human affairs. He chooses to, make himself known. And you have to have characters like John Constantine. Hey, Swamp Thing, we need your help. Does it have to do with the green? No, then I don't care. And then John Constantine has to convince Swamp Thing to join the fray, to join the fight, which is why you get things like Justice League Dark. It's almost like having a dog and trying to get it to sit. You kind of have to give it a treat to learn to sit. Like Swamp Thing, you have to entice him with the green for him to react in a situation where he could just solve the problem. You know what I mean?
yeah. If you teach a dog how to sit without a treat, that is not a dog that you're gonna want to be around.
That's a long that dog's gonna fucking kill you. That dog's
Yeah,
gonna
that
eat your
dog, you
throat
be
after a
like
while.
sitting, that dog's gonna be like, oh, all right, go to sleep,
You
see what
think you
happens.
tough. They're gonna do one of those. Who's the alpha now? We've been talking about it, but a slide here is the character. And very eloquently put, once again, Swamp Thing is that melancholy wisdom struggle between, the human heart and godlike inhuman responsibility. We've been talking about it the whole episode. He is a gentle giant, which is another reason why I love him so much. He's always spoken to my heart, and pushes that philosophical, when are you man, when are you beast? Wash. Is there any part of this character that you can relate to in regards to just his approach?
Ooh, any part that I saw myself, of course, because I'm me, yeah, I related him to Jedi as I did, and of course, he very much plays a Yoda type role where
Yeah.
he's an advisor and overseeing things and only gets involved when necessary. But for me, I think my I think the most impactful thing for me is his humanity, and we're going to get to it to the next slide, so I'm just going to start touching on it now. And that is how he is we I've spoken about how he doesn't want to necessarily be the green. He's
Yeah.
only here because of Abigail, because
Yes.
of his
Yes.
humanity being
It's
attached
tied.
to this woman. Like that, he doesn't even understand it. He just knows that it's attached, and thus it it had me wondering when you talk about the character of Swamp Thing. Had Abigail not existed, would this Swamp Thing exist? Or would this
Ooh.
Swamp Thing have just become a tree?
Yeah.
Right?
Was it
Right.
that pull to Abigail's always been his tether? Was that kept Alec alive, quote unquote?
And depending on how
Interesting.
you want to look at it, be it the experiment way in the New 52 or Alec Moore run, or the New 52 run where he was chosen for the mantle beforehand, somehow predestiny, irregardless of how you see that, the only reason he continues to do it is for Abigail.
Or
Uh,
yeah.
he he's like, yeah, I don't need to do any of this, bro. Oh wait, Abs is here.
Oh, I
You,
guess
you
okay.
sure?
You
All
sure?
right, I'm here.
Okay. I see it. We're good. We're good. He tightens up, you know what I'm saying? He
We-
he gives her a flower, you know what I'm saying? Like
yes. So I think that really impacts this character because Superman's super because not because he has the mantle of like saving humanity from bad guys. He like that's a thing, right?
it's
But
who
that
he
doesn't
is.
necessarily like Swamp Thing's literally like, oh, I'm going about my business. Abigail's here. Yeah, whatever she wants to do. Then
I'm down. Yeah.
I don't care who I got to step on. And that's the humanity side pulling at
Yeah.
this character. So I think it keeps things interesting. And actually, when she left in the middle of New 52, I found myself starting to wonder a bit because
Mm.
that tie, it there was just nothing there as strong. He took on the mantle. He's like, all right, I'll be Swamp Thing now. We'll go. I'll let her go.
It's it's funny. It reminds me of kind of like the supporting characters who are so important to just the logic of a character, like Injustice. I think of
I like how you
Injustice.
said that.
I'm sorry.
I
What were you
like
gonna
how
say?
you said that. Important to the logic of the character. Yes.
Yeah, like this character is not this character without this person, without this situation, without this tie, and it's like in Injustice, Joker kills Lois Lane, right? Spoiler alert. And Superman literally loses his damn mind and becomes a despot, earth conquering villain. Just automatically. That's all it took. It's one of the craziest things in comic book history, Injustice, right? And you kind of think this character is keeping this character in check. What is Superman without Lois Lane, right? How much of that good old truth, justice, in the American way is going to stick around once the love of his life is gone, right? How much is that
Hadn't even
kind of
considered that, but yeah.
how much is that is reinforcing those ideas, right? And we talk about Swamp Thing and Abigail Crane, and their relationship is so interwoven into each other that, like you said, the ghost of Alec Holland won't let her go, right? And thus informs Swamp Thing to do technically whatever she wants to do, which then grounds him back to this humanity that he can't join. He is, and that's what I love about Swamp Thing. He's the outsider. He's
And
not,
keeps
yeah,
him at odds with the parliament, with his people,
yeah.
with the
They don't
greed.
want him in that relationship because it compromises his duty. It- you know, it is.
It's super complex when you just think about that one thread, and that is what I have continually thought about these last few weeks is what came first? Did
Yeah,
Alec come first or did the Swamp Thing come first, right? Oh, we picked you by the mantle. Okay, maybe you did, but could that mantle have been given to Jonah as you wanted to instead of Alec? And does Swamp Thing exist if Abigail is not part of this?
I don't think so. You make a very good point. Certain characters are governed by their relationships. They're
Hmm.
not the same person if that person's not around. They change, their ideals change, they harden, or maybe they don't maybe they don't become at all. Like you said, if Abigail Crane wasn't in the picture, does he simply become, swamp foam? Does he simply become just a beautiful bouquet of swamp flowers? Or does that want to stay around, that want to make sure she's okay because she was in danger with her
Hmm.
with her father, or is it her uncle? Is it her uncle or her
Uncle,
father?
Uncle
Uncle,
Anton.
Uncle, and good old Unky
They
Anton.
they don't mention her father, and I was gonna ask you about that. Hey, they mentioned she killed her mother, but she
Yeah,
doesn't. They don't mention what happened to her father, and it's like, who's he, Mister Sinister or somebody?
I'm sure it's fucking Mr. Sinister. Wouldn't that be the way? Like you have the most jacked up family ever. Like her dad ends up being Ra's al Ghul or some
Bro,
bullshit.
bro, like
Out of
damn.
control. But I think that's a perfect way to kind of describe his character is that who is he outside of the people he cares about? And I think that's you can say that for a lot of heroes, you
Yeah,
know? What is Spider
yeah.
what happens if Spider-Man never had Uncle Ben? All that power, no responsibility. You know what I mean? Shit. Like Batman is not Batman without Alfred, if you want to call it a buck. Without Alfred being the mental kind of relationship anchor, Bruce Wayne just want to start killing people. He just want to start
I'm like,
losing it, dude.
Batman is in Arkham, locked up, bro. Full
Easy,
stop. Like,
easy.
full
Without
stop.
Alfred, Batman just falls apart as a
Yeah,
character.
bro. Like,
Doesn't get
yeah,
enough respect. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Oh man. One thing I did want to touch on before we move on from this slide is just the overall, just him feeling like he is the outsider, he is the outcast. He's not. going to, you're not inviting Swamp Thing to to the Justice League, spritzer on Saturday nights, you don't want his musty ass floating around, so he outside of the people who know him, he sticks to himself. He's a quiet dude. I kindle to that.
And he's kind of a bummer. Yeah, you don't want
Yeah,
Swamp Thing at your party, man.
he's
He's
gonna
gonna be
bum
like,
you out, dog.
yeah, anything going on with the Green today? They seem kind of depressed.
Hey, Swamp Thing, you're about to do these Jaeger bombs. You down? A dandelion died in Savannah, Georgia, 5 minutes ago. I loved her. That's crazy, dog. So we're gonna go
Yeah,
ahead and do these Jaeger
yeah,
bombs.
yeah, bro.
Get
Yeah.
out of here. Who brought Swamp Thing, Doug? So
Because they
yeah.
don't, they're always talking to him. It's like, pollination is down by 6% this cycle.
Yeah, he's just such a bummer, dude. That's hilarious. You can't hold conversations. You gotta know how to talk to him. You gotta open him up because
I
otherwise
like how you said if like the people who know him, they're down. They're like, yeah, let's go
yeah,
to the
Chuck
swamp.
Constantine
Everybody's
loves
hang
Swamp
out at
Thing.
the swamp.
That's his
Yeah,
boy,
but
man. He knows how to talk to him. But if you don't know how to talk, he's just quiet. He's just to the cut. So you come here often? You have
only
13%
when it
more gut
rains.
biome than you should. I would get that checked out. Thank you, Swamp Thing. Am I gonna die? We'll see. We all die. and then we go to the rot.
Yeah, the green is the only thing forever.
I'm only forever. Everything
Mhm.
else rots away and dies. Wonder
Uh,
Woman, how you doing? Let me go talk to you real quick. All right, Swamp Thing. I'll pat you on the moss. Yeah,
ah,
you don't even pat Swamp Thing, dog. It just is. It's wet. He
like
seems
that.
very wet all the fucking time. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
Going on to, this is probably my favorite slide of the entire deck. The cast is so important, and I don't think I missed any pillars of Swamp Thing. Just being a mix of his humanity, supernatural sides, and cosmic deities. So let's run through these not quickly, but give them their space. So let's start off as we've been talking about Abigail, Abby Arcane. You know what I mean? Niece of the arch enemy, his greatest ally, and eventually wife. You've been talking about her. What are your thoughts on Abby?
I think that Abby had a weird turn, and I wonder what happened to her in New 52. Because for a while she's just gone, and it's like, oh, so you're the queen of decay. You wrestled away that mantle from your brother, your uncle over there, and you're like, yeah, I'm in charge now. And then you leave, and we don't hear from you.
I
What
guess
are
she
you
decayed.
doing?
She decayed.
What are you doing? And then you come back and Swamp Thing's like, yo, Abby, what's up? What do we need?
Hey, hey, how you
we
been?
we she's like, we can't hook up. He's like, I know,
I
but well,
know. It seemed like
what do you
you
need?
that thing cleared up on your face there. No, that thing
Uh,
cleared up on your cheek there, Abby. You trying to grab a drink? We really shouldn't. Fair enough.
they have a twisted relationship throughout this
Yeah,
thing. So, for me, she's one of my favorite things. In fact, I liked all of the Rot. I like Anton. I even like William Arcane, the kid, her
yeah,
brother, who's
hmm
just a terror in his own and
yeah.
seems to
He's
be
just
the only one besides Swamp Thing who gets out, you know, somehow unscathed, able to do whatever the hell he wants. So, yeah, thoughts on Abby?
oh yeah, Abby's super dope. I love Abby. Like we don't want to retread too much, but she is the heart of this series, I believe, in her own messed up way. She has very Jenny from Forrest Gump vibes to me,
Yes.
where she's just a mess, but she's his mess, and they kind of work together. So you know what I'm saying?
We all
That's how I
got
feel.
one. We all got
Well,
one, man. We all got one. We all-
that is an after dark we can do later. You know what I'm saying? John Constantine, man. Fun fact: first appearance was in Swamp Thing. You ever seen Keanu Reeves Constantine?
yes.
Kind of a household name this guy's become. Started off in Swamp Thing.
I didn't
Swamp
know
Thing's
this was a start.
I didn't know either, to be honest with you.
There
I
you
didn't
go.
remember. I didn't remember. Um, Kind of taught Swamp Thing his true nature. Because Swamp Thing is much like Spawn, right? When Spawn first showed up, I got guns, bro. This is what I know. Pew pew, I'm gonna shoot you. Then someone had to teach Spawn that he's completely busted, right? Same thing with Swamp Thing. I'm gonna throw vines at you, and that's kind of the limit of what he could do. And John Constantine with his cigarette smoking self, just like, all right, bruv, we're gonna go ahead and show you how to be the best elemental you can be. And in his own way, they became kind of like good cop, bad cop. You know what I mean?
And I know you want to talk about John Constantine. Why does this harken back to something bigger in the DC universe? What does this relationship start? Because I know Constantine is working Swamp Thing for a something that's going on in another issue of something else way over here, right?
Yeah,
But why
twofold.
is this is why we do this is why we're doing this, folks, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Why is?
So I believe that Swamp Thing did have, mind you, I'm not the biggest Hellblazer reader, which was John Constantine's first run in Vertigo Comics, where he was kind of, because John doesn't do anything for the the virtue of heroism. He's a very big anti-hero. Like he's almost like Black Widow when it comes to like you just don't know what side he's sitting on. He's sitting on John's side. So there's two things that he kind of builds this equity with Swamp Thing with is because of I believe Swamp Thing has an important run in Hellblazer comics back in the 80s and 90s, and also to more modern things is he needs to recruit him into Justice League Dark. Um, for that macabre occult Justice League for the big bad they have to fight in their initial run, with Zatanna and Deadman, and he was just like, "Yeah, we got to get Swamp Thing because we need him to win." So their relationship is kind of cultivated on his need of Swamp Thing versus him actually trying to befriend him in a weird way, just because how slimy Constantine is. You know what I mean?
A- And Swamp Thing being Swamp Thing's like, okay,
Eh,
I guess so.
fine, dog.
You know what? I
At
don't
least
like you
you'll
that
talk to
much.
me. At least
Right?
you'll talk to me.
What are you doing back here?
Yeah.
Like, last
Hey,
time I saw you, all hell broke loose, and the best you can do is, what are you doing back here?
what are you
I'll
doing
talk to
back
you.
here? Sure. You chilling? I know it's a swamp and it's gross, but can we just chill? And Constantine's like, I got a full pack, dude. What's on your mind? You know what I'm saying? And he's just that kind of bro. So Constantine is one of the most important magic users in DC Comics. So for him to be born out of Swamp Thing is why is Cat so important? How does it affect the more brand scope of the DC universe? Interesting, because back in the day, Vertical Comics and DC Comics weren't connected. You know what I mean? They were almost like their own offshoot comic, Vertical Comics, which was more of like
Okay.
the darker, more mature comics. And after a while, I think after a while, they started to blend together. You know what I mean? Where they were like, this, no one's doing anything with Constantine. Can I, you know, I want to say, who wrote Hellblazer? But they were like, "Can we use John Constantine?" Sure. Gets his own book and it's freaking dope. You know what I'm saying? So they bring him back to DC to kind of be that, stiff upper, not even stiff upper lip, just kind of like piece of trash, but one of the most busted, most reliable magic users outside of like Satana and like Dr. Fate and those kind of heavy hitters. He's right up there. So he's like
Someone relatable.
very relatable. He's not doing anything if it's not within his own interests. Gotta love John. He's a piece of crap, but he's our piece of crap. You know what I mean? Um, Anton Arcane.
You got you gotta love John. He may be a piece of crap, but he's our
He's
piece of
our piece
crap.
of
And
crap.
you got Jenny from Forrest Gump. So you have two descriptors of your all-star cast right now.
Tells you what you
It's like I'm picking these two. It's
yeah.
like Swamp Thing. It- what happens
He
if you
he
pick
ta-
better friends, bro?
he, you work with what you got. You know what I'm saying? I don't see, Wonder Woman having tea with Swamp Thing, bro. Like it's just not
That's what I
happening.
was gonna say. What happens if you hit a Wonder Woman, man? Like,
No,
things may look up.
I
Nope.
picked you some posies. I'm not touching you, dog. This thing- he tried to milady Wonder Woman, dog.
Oh,
The
damn.
green is so beautiful. Like I'm out. She just fucking flies off, dog.
Oh,
You know.
man.
And he's like, oh, Toad runs by. He befriends a Toad. Yeah, it's like you work with what you got. He's like Shrek, bro. Not many people are going down to the bog to hang out with Shrek, man. That's the sad truth of Swamp Thing. He doesn't play well with others, so he
Yeah.
takes the asshole magician and the psychotic girlfriend whose uncle is literally everything he's not, and constantly tries to be a thorn in Swamp Thing, and is jealous of Swamp Thing because Swamp Thing obtained immortality. And really, Arcane's really through line is, how did that happen, and how do I replicate it? You know what I mean? Across all media, he's like, I need to understand the Swamp Thing formula. How does he work? I want that, but I want it for the Rot. I think he eventually gets it at some
It
point.
does. Yeah.
You know, and it's like that was his whole uh motivation for most of ever until he finally gets it and then gets usurped by Abby. From your readings between Alan Moore's run and the New 52, what are your thoughts on Arcane as a villain?
Twisted villain, good, some good things, like when he put them or took them through like the time travel portal and they had been there. He's like, yeah, you'd had already lost a year. And they're like, what, bro? He's
Ooh,
like, yeah, I just want you to come down here. I was twisted at that point. I was like, we only been here to hear a panel. What do you mean a year's gone
have fun with
by,
that stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Right? And so we come out and all hell's running and the Rot's just running gunshot. And everybody's like, yeah, it's all bad, man. Swim, what?
Swamp
So,
Swamp Thing help.
Anton's smarter than he looks. He
Yeah.
shows it multiple times. He gets under Abby's skin, even though he knows how to do that. He gets under Swamp Thing's skin a number of times. I'm actually really surprised that he doesn't come out in the upper end at the end, but there was more than enough power there to deal with him. But knowing that William Arcane gets away, right? Like
It's
like
like the seed of the
the
future, you know?
the seed of Anton, and that kid is almost worse than Anton is because he's like
Yeah.
he thoroughly enjoys what he's doing. He's like, oh yeah, no, I'm 9 and I'm terrible.
And
It's awesome.
wait till they get a load of me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I do like the Arcane family. I kind of wish I had more Arcane family in DC Universe as a whole because they're a force. They're a force. Swamp Thing's a force, but this family's also a force. The mantle of the Queen of the Rot,
There's a
bro.
lot
Who
you
wants to
could
be
do if you
Queen of
wanted.
the Rot?
She alone could be a Justice League level
Yes.
threat, and they just don't do it.
It's
They just
like
don't
she
do it.
alone could take on the Parliament of the Trees. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like Swamp Thing is
easily.
not king of the swamp, right?
Yeah,
She is queen of the rot,
yeah.
the
There's different
top.
levels to it. Yeah, she's the
Yeah.
tippity top, like universal constant. You know what I'm
And the
saying?
Parliament of the Trees, they said they were giving Swamp Thing some orders. They're like, yeah, there's people above us, so we I'm only telling you what they told us.
I mean,
So
yeah, shit flows downhill, right? Um, so do it, please. You mentioned it earlier, but I like Arcane because he's not just smart; he's cunning. He has kind of like a bite to him. You know what I mean?
yes,
Manipulative, and also kind of funny. I like a character, a villain that has a little bit of swag to them in a weird way. He's not charming, but he's not like you know. What are your? I can see your face. What are your thoughts?
are DC villains better than Marvel villains?
Yes, I hate to
I
say
had
it.
never considered this,
As
but
a whole, yes.
you can put
I'm sorry.
Arcane and Joker in the same room and they will get along. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's a
Mhm.
relationship that'll work in a very twisted way. And it's like
They will
I
play
don't think
well.
Marvel has anything like that.
Here's the thing, and I don't want to
It's
get
just
too much heat from the
yeah,
Marvel fans, but overall, DC has more interesting villains. But the
more
interesting villain
interesting.
Marvel's hands, but the interesting villains Marvel have are top 5 dead or alive. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The absolutely tippity top echelon, your Doctor Dooms, your Magnetos, you know what I'm saying? They're stronger than a Lex Luthor who wants to be rich. But overall, every single hero in DC almost has at least one very interesting villain. You can't say the same about every Marvel hero. You just can't. Tell me who's the most interesting villain of Luke Cage. Eh,
No, I watched Blue Beetle and I don't even know who he fought.
he fought that one guy, you know. Whereas like with DC, I don't know what it is. It's and mind you, I'm a DC guy in heart. Like as a child, I was a Marvel kid, but as an adult, I'm a DC guy. When I read books as an adult, I learned to appreciate DC more. You have your Sinestros, and you have your, like you said, the Joker and Anton Arcane can get into some stuff. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Easily.
and caused some trouble.
Like if you put Lobo and Doomsday together, they may kill each other, try to kill each other at first, but after a while, they may start seeing eye to eye in certain situations, right? And Marvel villains are so cutthroat; they none of them can coexist with each other.
No.
Magneto thinks Doctor Doom is disgusting,
I'm like, you put Doob and Magneto in the same room, bro. Like the fists are being
bro.
thrown. There's no tea being having. No one's
Have,
talking.
have you ever seen the interaction between Magneto and the Red Skull?
No,
It's
I don't
freaking.
think
Think
so.
about the Magneto being a Holocaust survivor in the Red Skull. It's
Ah,
such good writing. John
yeah.
Cassidy art. Anyway, but yeah, Arcane just he's just like Swamp Thing where he's just as malleable. He could be dark, he could be brooding, he could be scary, but at the same time he could be goofy and cartoonish, and you can make him into an action figure if you wanted to. But just the idea of him being obsessed with the brat, him embodying the rot, and that kind of being his downfall, I think speaks to just the birth, the death, life, death, rebirth cycle of Swamp Thing. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's really at its core. And lastly, let's talk about the Parliament of Trees, which is this, the cosmic council of formal plant elementals, who are there to act as the collective consciousness within the green. I call them the guardians. You know what I mean? They're the guardians from like Guardians of they're no, not the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're more like the guardians from Green Lantern. You know the little blue guys that
Oh
run
yeah,
the
yeah,
Green
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Lanterns,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
you got to go talk to them before you got to get your marching orders from them,
Yeah.
and they're kind of out of touch with what's going on, and they really don't care. And you just don't understand. This is happening. We do not care. This is the way we do things, and you have to abide. Um, they're kind of a downer, but they're also interesting. What are your thoughts on the Parliament here?
I think that the Parliament trees, there's some area to grow there, but overall, I will say, yeah, no, that's a great correlation that you said with the Green Lantern Corps people, because they are kind of a downer and they are kind of out of touch, and they are kind of like, well, these are the rules, so the
Yeah,
rules just have to be followed, and it's like, but there's considerations to be had. No, there really isn't. There's no considerations. Why?
I'll even
Because that's
you
the
e-
way things have just run.
you even questioning us is a problem. We know better than you. We are thousands and trillions of years older than you. Just do what we're asking you to do. No.
So I did look up to see if there was any other media that really got into the Parliament of Trees as like where they live, what that is. But as you say, it is a cosmic consciousness as such. So it's more of a dream state than anything else.
Yeah,
So you yeah, you go into the swamp and then they commune with you. It reminds me very much of what's going on in Avowed, but moving on.
very good. It's almost like there are two sides to the coin of Swamp Thing. You have the Avatar of Green, Parliament of Trees side that wants to do everything that's right for Green. Then you flip that coin and you have Alec Holland who wants to do right by Abigail, who wants to still kind of linger in that human side of things. So they're constantly, and any day you can flip that coin and get a different Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
depending how he feels that day. Certain comic runs, he's all about the green. He's all about the parliament and doing kind of what they say. And you have to kind of convince him to help you. Certain times he's very emotional. He's very, retrospective. He's very introspective, and wants to be try to have a life with Abigail, whatever that may be in their own weird, gross way. Um, we're going to talk about the movies where there's an actual sex scene between Abigail and Swamp. It's out of control. We're going to talk about it. But yeah, um, it's just I think I see the Parliament as that almost like a reptilian part of his brain that he can never shut out because it's literally inwoven into
Yeah.
his makeup. Like you're here because of us, depending on the lore. There's the New 52 lore where he was chosen, and then there is, like you said, the more interesting lore where he's kind of just accidentally thrust into the situation reluctantly, but he's here for it now. He has no
And
choice but to
then
be here for it now. You
Parliament's
know,
like, could you get Alec out of here, man? We don't
no,
need this thing. Like, he can stay there. We can
no,
use you.
no. Sadly, we're a package deal. You know what I mean? And they're like, fine, just don't mess it up. Guess what? 7 or 8 times in the run. Hey, guess what? You messed it up. Now we're dying. Look at us. We're wilting. We're wilting. Oh, what a world. What a world. You know. Lastly, let's talk about the media, right? I want to include this as a why is this character cool? Because there's things you can watch, there's things you can check out that is Swamp Thing right now. If you saw this and wanted to say, I don't want to sit there and read a giant book, what can I watch right now and tell me why Swamp Thing's cool? This covers the movies in the animated series, but there is so much more Swamp Thing because all truth be told, when I was a child, there was a bit of a Swamp Thing kind of renaissance in the 90s where Swamp Thing was big, he was popular. There were Swamp Thing toys and animated series. There was two movies. Like he was like a thing for a split second. And in that split second, it captured little Mikey Short Pants with a little propeller hat because he was big, he was dumb, he was cool, he was a monster, and I was really into horror, being a monster kid. Like he just spoke to me. Um, Before doing this, well, two questions for you, Wash. I don't want to
Mhm.
go too crazy. Um, Before doing this, why is were you aware of any of the Swamp Thing media? And two, did you stop and watch any of the media in preparation of this episode?
We were familiar with the animated series. We had not watched it. We knew that there was a movie, made for television movie, I had thought. I certainly didn't watch that. For this series, I did watch the animated series, which in its own right
Swamp
was super
Thing.
fun. Yeah, super fun. Super fun. And there's also some books based on the
Yes.
Swamp Thing,
Oh
and I
yeah.
started to get into one of those, but I'm also in the middle of like 6, 7 Star Wars books, so I may get back to it because it does ring a tad different, and I'm wondering if it reads in a tad bit more of a horror aspect, because I honestly think this is like written as a straight horror flick, kind of
Yeah.
like Alan Moore. That could be a fantastic, fantastic type of reading. So those are the two things I watch. But these movies, don't know nothing about them. And why
Hey.
it didn't sell, that face is not going to sell.
So look at his face. He's so irritated. He's like, this is bullshit. Look
Is
at his
that
face.
Heather Locklear?
Yes, she plays Abigail in Return to Swamp Thing, bro. It's amazing. You
That's
have to
hilarious.
watch that movie. It's so dumb. It is great. That's part of the homework for those out there. Watch like Swamp Thing 1, funny enough, directed by Wes Craven, who did Nightmare on Elm Street. Not that great. It's Swamp Thing. You want some Swamp Thing? I recommend watching The Return of Swamp Thing, the 1989 dude in a suit, gooey, kind of like dumb, like Power Rangers level, like campiness, where Swamp Thing is running around, he's flipping over cars, the Swamp Thing. You know what I'm saying? Arcane is there. He mutates into a monster. They have a real big kaiju fight at the. It's great. Watch Return of Swamp Thing, dude. It is so goofy. Just look at this picture. This is a still from Return of the Swamp Thing, and Heather Locklear is there as it's just so wrong. It's so good. It's so good. So
It's not anything I've heard mentioned in a long time, folks. And yes, you can stream some of this stuff. Ironically, not much of it is free. I just want to let you
yeah,
know you can
yeah.
watch the animated series on Pluto for free, but all the movies did cost a couple of bucks to rent. And I was already backed up with 60 issues of comics that I was getting through. So,
I feel, I feel
so
it.
yeah, we didn't get there, but one day, maybe there will be an MOTN reviews
Views,
the
Return of
Swamp
Swamp
Thing,
Thing.
Return of
I am
Swamp
so
Thing.
down,
Maybe
bro.
we will
I'm gonna have to
consider
talk
doing
you into
something like
that,
that.
man.
Maybe I have to
Oh,
do that.
watch one more thing that's not listed here. That was in the late 2000s, like 2000, maybe even the 2010s. They did a short one season run on the Sci-Fi Channel called Swamp Thing, and it is just horror. It's that Alan Moore
Ooh,
horror. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. Even I didn't watch the entire thing because at the time I couldn't. I didn't have access to it. But there is a TV
ooh.
series that is recent that is just like body horror, arcane, Alan Moore goodness.
It's one character where I can definitely see myself leaning more into the sci-fi realism part of it, more so than the superhero,
Heroic. Yeah.
Superman type of stuff. And it's like I would prefer to see that. I'd prefer to see Swamp Thing fighting some Cenobites. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
oh shit,
Fighting the things from Dead Space, you
right?
know?
All right,
Let them
all
fight
right.
that. Don't have Swamp Thing fighting bank robbers. It gets kind of dumb there. Uh, he very much reminds me of Batman, where if you just stay in Gotham, right? Don't leave Gotham. Stay within the walls of Gotham. Batman is dark. He's gritty. He's crime noir. He's brooding. He's grounded. The second Superman flies over, he's goofy, right? It becomes a silly thing, right? He has contingency plans and he has Kryptonian armors and it gets silly, right? Swamp
Yeah,
Thing's very much the same thing. If you just stick to Swamp Thing, he's dark, it's brooding, just like Superman. I mean, just like Batman. It's dark, it's brooding, it's supernatural, it's scary. But the second Superman shows up in that Alan Moore run, Swamp Thing kind of softens a little bit. You know what I mean? That it stops being as heavy, you know? And I think these characters in a bubble are way more interesting than when they have to play nice with the rest of the DC universe.
correct. Correct. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And I want to say this actor looks really familiar too, who's playing the
Ah,
Swamp Thing. I don't want to pull it up because IMDb crashes my freaking computer, but I want to say that that dude looks really familiar.
it's a dude.
It's a
I'm telling you,
dude.
it's a dude.
It's
I
a
don't
dude.
remember who it is, but it is a dude, bro.
That's funny.
Lastly, closing out why is Swamp Thing cool? Swamp Thing is an elemental powerhouse, merging psychedelic body horror with soulful poetic. He's that soulful poetic protector, Earth's botanical consciousness. He proves that he's more than monster, he's more than man. He wields the power of the gods, but also has is grounded, literally, no pun intended, grounded in the wherewithal of our civilization and our overall planetary ecosystem. I would challenge anyone to look at any parts of this uh, character's history and appreciate how awesome he really is. Wash, what are your final thoughts on why is Swamp Thing?
Why is Swamp Thing awesome, man? Essentially, I think it comes down to the fact that he gets to do whatever he wants to. Even with the Parliament of Trees. Swamp Thing's like, yeah, I understand what you want. I will do what I want until I decide to do otherwise. And so our goals will align then. But he is so bustedly powerful that he gets to tell his bosses no.
Yeah,
His
he get,
bosses can't do anything to him. They're like, oh, you already have the power. We can't strip you of power. Whereas when you look at Abigail and Anton, oh, we'll strip you of power, give you power here. Nah, you got the power. You died. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give the power back to you because you are our one last hope, right?
If anything,
So,
they give him
yeah,
more power.
they give him more power. The dude who doesn't want it, the dude who
Yeah,
turned his back on him multiple times. That's how busted he is. Is that okay, here's more. And you just don't get a lot of that in
no.
characters. And we've talked about the abilities and the cast and some of the themes that go along, but when you get down to it, what you want is a cool, fun character, something with depth, something with
Yeah,
with breadth, with experience that keeps you wanting more and lives in a system that can provide more, and Swamp Thing does that. He lives in his very own ecosystem. And in this day and age, I do have to say I'm a tad bit surprised we don't have more Swamp Thing type mantles. So it will be interesting to see if James Gunn does that, and then on top of it does like save the planet type of stuff, or if he just keeps it fairly grounded in Swamp Thing.
I do know that a certain Oscar-winning director, Guillermo del Toro, has
Ooh.
been aching to write a Justice League Dark movie. He's been aching to say, "I give me the dark side of the DC comics. I'll do right by it." And I'm hearing that James Gunn is picking up where Totoro-san is laying down. So does that give me hope as a Swamp Thing fan that he will once again become a household name? Yes, because there's so much depth to this character that he could be as shallow or as deep as you want him to be. Do you just want to turn your brain off and have a good time? Watch Return of Swamp Thing, right? Like you're just gonna have a good time. Do you want to delve into the psyche of a man who's losing his humanity, but also obtaining the power of a god? Read the anatomy lesson. You're gonna enjoy it. Do you want to play as this busted character in a fighting game? Play Injustice 2. He is there for you. You know, I'm gonna try to find the Sci-Fi Channel series tonight,
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
I
You
want to
mentioned
watch
that.
that.
Yeah, if you see send that over.
Yeah,
Shoot
I'll
me
let
a
you know
link
where it's
on that
streaming.
if you got it. Yeah,
Imma hunt
let me
it
know.
down because I want to see what they did with it, you know? He is such a universal, malleable he's such a Swiss Army knife of a character, both in power and in process, you know what I mean? That he can be on the lunchbox, but he also can give you nightmares. It really depends on what you want out of this character, and I think anybody can, like, uh relate to Swamp Thing, but at the same time just be wowed by how awesome he is. Like you said, can do literally whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and lives his own life by his own terms.
Hmm.
He's pretty much the plant version of Wolverine. You know what I mean? He does what he wants to do. He can be a weapon. He can be godlike, but he also is very human, and also
And
is, you know,
I think that's one of the thing when you say relate to him. I think that's one of the things I guess I really like about him that I can verbalize in that way is that he picks his own battles. He
yeah,
does not let circumstances, unless it's Abigail, dictate what
yeah,
he's
that's
going to do, right? And even if it's Abigail, he's like, all right, we're gonna work this out. I'm gonna take care of you, Abby. We'll get you there, but we got some things. There's an order to
yeah,
things.
hun.
So
I know you want to go to Sapporo, but I got to stop and get gas first. But I can't get there without the
right.
gas. We'll get
So
there, but yeah,
I do like that he's not tied to this responsibility that he has to be Superman. You know what I mean? Or when the light goes on in the sky, the
he
cowl has
has
to
to
come on
activate.
and he has to
Yeah,
turn into Dark Knight. He is Swamp Thing all the time.
yeah. There is no costume.
No.
There is no moment where he's not Swamp Thing. He has to Swamp Thing all the time, and in those times, he finds love. He finds companionship. He finds friends. He finds adversaries. But he can
And
never
when
turn off
you
being Swamp Thing.
And when you hear that the dandelion died 5 minutes ago all the time, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot.
That's a
That's a
lot,
lot,
man.
bro.
Can
That's
we
a
not
lot.
on New Year's Eve when the balls drop and talk about that? No.
Shit.
No.
Oh, the
Yeah.
entire ecosystem. Too much water over here. Oh,
Yeah.
Christ. All right.
I gotta go talk to Aquaman because the E. coli in the water is killing the fauna in Barcelona, Spain.
Bro,
Is
it's a
Aquaman here
lot,
yet? I
man.
need to talk. I don't think he wants to talk about that Swamp Thing. I think he wants to drink and have a good time. Just when you see Arthur, just let him know Swamp Thing wants to talk to him.
I love our Swamp
Okay.
Thing conversations. It's like this is a whole thing, man. It's like,
Yeah,
damn,
he's such a
the most
bummer.
interesting character ever, Swamp Thing.
Yeah, he's the most interesting man on earth, but he talks about everything you don't want to talk about in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Oh, geez. And that brings us to the end of our why is Swamp Thing awesome? Why is he
It.
now your new favorite character? This is I can't reiterate how happy I am that this is finally here. I don't know how often we're going to do this. I don't like Wash said, this could be a one off. We don't know. It just depends on you, the nerdiverse. It depends on our whimsy. You know what I mean? If another character kind of it scratches that itch, this was a heavy lift, but I think that future why is this will not be as hard as this one, or
First
not
one's
even hard.
always hard.
First one's always tough. We have a system now. We have a ways of doing it. And if you guys like it, and if you want more of this, please let us know by liking it, actually liking it on YouTube, liking it, listening to it on Spotify, commenting on it. Let us know your favorite Swamp Thing moments. You know what I mean? That's something we didn't even broach. Our favorite Swamp Thing moments. Um,
Honestly, we left a lot on the table. We could keep
yeah,
this podcast going like another 2
2
freaking
or 3
hours, and
hours.
there's
But
still stuff to talk about. Yes.
that's what this is not what that is. We don't wanna overload you with Swamp Thing. We just wanna tell you our brief thoughts on why this character is awesome and why you should look more. You know what I mean? But if you want to stay here for another 7 hours and really dive into it and blow your mind, we could, because he's that deep. He's that interesting, dude. But I hope this helped inform you a little bit on the character. Hope this sparked your interest and to ask yourself why is. Any final thoughts, Wash, before we close this bad boy out?
Been a great time. Thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Same here. This is uncharted territory. I'm so happy that we did this, and I'm looking forward to future installments of why is. With that, I will say I've been Mike G, the Master of the Nerdiverse. He's been Wash, Master of the Nerdiverse. We are the Master of the Nerdiverse podcast, and we're gonna say MOTN out. Take care, everybody.